Hello everyone, welcome back to CSS learning. So like our previous tutorial, we've done until like a border color. So like you see on my screen, so we added, if you want the border color, so we need to add like, so we can use a color. Color is for text color as we learned. So if you wanted the border, you have to use a border color property so that we can define our border color like you see on my screen. If you want it like I said, like HSL, if you just one click and then you can rotate your RGB hashtag, so that will be has value, so we can change it, rotate it to our value. So that's how easy in Visual Studio Code, guys. So let me bring up my lesson content. So the next one will be, now we have no fill and stroke. So fill is like a background color. So the text, so text is what we can change a color. And also I want to jump to the text shadow because a gradient is a little bit big topic, so that we need to talk about it a lot. And the text shadow is since we are learning, so I want to make a little bit big font size for my dialogue and then the input, so to do that, so I will just type it like a dialogue here. Then I'm going to change it to, so we're going to have a typography like a new tutorial, so I'm going to do it, but for now just type it that way, font size. So if you want to change the font size big and small, so just tab key and then you can make it like what if we just say I think like a 45 pixel. So let's test this out. So if I save it now, the promotions are started, so this one getting bigger. And also my learn more and X icon, if you want to make it big. So if you back to my HTML, so we built our button is a user button element, so that dialogue is the whole a big element, like a parent. So if I want to select button, so I have to say now we are going to use a little bit combinator, so that will be dialogue will be our parent, and also the other one will be a button, because I can even say a font and it will be more specific, so that will be a button. So if you say just like that, now we're gonna make it, it's the same thing, you just type it it's a font, or you can define it with the width, height, but for us for teaching purpose, I'm gonna say a font size only. So that will be, what if we just say 24 pixel. So if I save it, now you can see that a little bit bigger text, and then so that we can do the coloring. So back to my so we have background. So if you want to do the background, it has to be background color. If you want to apply the text color, so it has to be color, so that it will apply. And also border color, so border color properties. So these are the little bit muscle memory, so you have to practice it. And also I've been referring to the Google course, and then you can search it on a Google or Mozilla. So like a text shadow, so I want to show you to do the text shadow in CSS. You can just type it like a text, and so so see Visual Studio Code is good, so you can just see it here. So that will be here, the text shadow. If you press tab key, and then now so in CSS, if you come from a graphic design, it's very similar. So you want a shadow, so you have to define it like a X and then Y value. So that will be left, top, and bottom. You're gonna define the value. And also you want it what is the blur amount? If your shadow is really, really blurry, so we're gonna have a, so this is just a mock-up, it doesn't give in so Visual Studio Code doesn't give it. So I just want to show you an X, Y, and then blur, so that we're gonna define value in each. And also now the last will be color value, so that will be color value. So now we have learned that X and Y value should be pixel. So let's say I set 10 pixel for my X values, that will be moving left and right, so you can put it that way. Y will be top and bottom, so that will be 10 pixels. And blur, so blur is the same in Photoshop. We can blur it in layer effects, so we can do, it's the same thing. So if you want it shadow blur amount, let's say, what if we just a little bit too obvious, I will just put it only 3 pixels, so that we can see the shadow. color. So now the color is exactly the same the color that we have learned on the top, so you can use it like a color keyword, you can use it has value, you can use it like a RGB, any like the technique that like we have learned previously. So that will be, now I'm gonna type it for us, like to make it easier. Like I said, anything you can use it, RGB, or like for us, like what if we just say, I mean like that will be, I think like white, so if I say like a white shadow, so that will be a little obvious on the green background. So if I save it, bang, now you're gonna see like a little bit shady. So I think like what if we just say like a yellow? So if I remove it, so to get it back, just now it's a white like color block, I just click it and then the picker appear. If I want to change to the yellow color a little bit, or maybe pinky, or a little bit like a violet, so to do that one. And if I save it, so now you're gonna see that my text shadow. So it's a little bit ugly for now, so this is how we're gonna add the shadow. If you want to move it up and down, like I said, so that will be Y value. So I'm gonna like reduce to 5 pixels, and also it's too far from left and right, so test it out. So it's the same as a Photoshop, you can test it out a little bit slowly. So that will be what if we just say 5 pixel. So now blurry, it's too blurry. So if you want it like less blurry, so that will be 1 pixel. So if I save it now, you're gonna see it that way. So even if like change it to like, what if we just change a little bit yellow and then save it. Yeah, so that will be, I think the black will be better. So what if we just say the black color here, save it. Yeah, so there is a shadow that we can add in our CSS. I mean like, so you have to make sure that the X, Y, and the blur color, and also the what is the color value, so that we're gonna have a shadow. And also if you want it, CSS is a good thing. Let's say I move it a little bit, X and Y to 3, and like I think blurry like 1 pixel, we keep it that way. If I save it now, I have a like a black shadow for my text. So if you want to edit like a Photoshop effects, you want to like a shadow to be 2-3 repeated shadows. So to do that, you just have to type one more shadow here. So now this time, if I say like a text shadow, and even like I mean like you can edit one more like a CSS property that's gonna like a take over. But if you want it repeated shadow, what I can do is in like I mean like the like CSS property rules, you gonna edit one column. So that is like you are combining like a different properties and value in one CSS like a rule cell. I mean like, so now if I separate it comma, so it defines that the shadow one value, it's already applied, and also I'm gonna edit one more CSS value. So always use a comma. It's the same as like a selector, so if you look it back at the top, so table, if you separate it comma, so it means like it becomes a groups. So it's the same thing like if you add the comma in your CSS rule set, so that will become a group like a property. So now I'm going to edit one more shadow in here. So to do that, so I can like start with the X value. So I mean 3 pixel will be the same shadow, because like I said, I want to repeat a shadow. So let's say I want it like a little bit like far away, so that we can see the repeated shadow. That will be, what if we say like a 7 pixel. And for the like X, and then 7 pixel for Y value, blurry, I think I don't want it too blurry, so that will be 1 pixel. And color, so let's say I think the white, so to test it out, so let me see white. If I save it, now you can see that repeated shadow. So it's black is already in the shadow, and also if you take it out, so I think that will be, what if we just do with the yellow one, so that will be here. And if I save it, now you can see that now black, and also one more shadow is added. So like I said, you can like repeatedly, unlimited, you can add your shadow. I mean, it depends on your graphic design view, so that will be how we can add a shadow. If you want it like a little bit what if blue, so that a little bit dark color, and I'm gonna test it out. So now you can see a little bit like a repeated shadow. You can edit that way. So it depends on you guys. So there will be like like the how to add the shadow, you know. So that is what we need to learn. So for the text shadow, so you can edit one shadow, you can edit double, triple, so all those if you want it. So you have to use the text shadow and then separate with comma, and then you can edit like repeated shadow. So that will be text shadow. And the other thing will be, I think that's it, text fill strokes that we have learned, and then text shadow. And now I think I will go like do the gradient. So since we have learned a lot, you know, so it's the same thing. You want to change that, let's say like learn more background color, all this you want to change, you can like do the selection, and then you can change it. Let's say here, like dialog button form, so I can just simply add here the background color. Let's say you want to change it your like the button background color, you know, so not the text. If you want the text, so that will be color. Let's say I want it like a little bit like a dark blue. So if I say dark blue, if I save it, the color will change to dark blue. And also the button, the background color. So like I said, once you like so you like you master it, like how the CSS color properties are working. Now you can apply it any like selector, you know, any element. So that will be same background color. So I'm going to edit, let's say, what if we just leave it over here, so yellow. So if I save it now, you're going to have a button to be yellow color. So, but I think the gray will be better, so we can just, that's for instance, guys. So if I remove it, so I'm going to save it. So that's how we're going to change it. And then also, like I said, so let's move on to the, what if, we learn the, I think the gradient, that will be pattern and gradient things, you know. So we're gonna take over it. So to do that, so what I'm gonna type is in CSS, if you want the gradient color. So before that, let me bring you up like a little bit good example, you know. If you type it aws.amazon.com, so they will have a different gradient pattern that you can see. So so if you bring it down, so that's how gradient shadow is used in AWS in the website. So if you want it that way, so that is how we're gonna do it. So let's say what if we just see the other thing, one of the, I think that would be products, and then maybe let's see like EC2 application, and I think compute. So let's take a look at that one. Now you can see that all the gradients they apply, even in the here, if you mouse hover it. So this is it is a background color, but it's using the gradient background color, because we haven't learned it like a gradient color. So that's why I want to show you how we can navigate the gradient, you know. So now you can see here, so that will be like a gradient shadow if you want it. So that will be a gradient color. So to do that in CSS, if you want a gradient color, so what we have to start with the it's a background color, but so this time is we're gonna call it, if you want it gradient in CSS, we have to use it grade background image. So this is one thing to note. You cannot use other properties, so it has to be like a background dash image property. And then now we're gonna define it. We have a gradient. So if you come from graphic design, we have a linear gradient. So if I type it linear gradient, now Visual Studio give us a template. So in gradient, we have at least two color. You can do the one color, you know, like one a little bit light blue, one is a big blue, so whatever, but at least we need a two color. So two colors mean we're gonna separate two colors. So that will be first color, comma, and then the other one be second color. So at least whatever you wanted color. So but now make sure that you add the comma, and then you combine two colors to create a gradient. So the first color, so color is what we have learned. So that will be hash value, RGB, whatever. So but for us right now, to teaching purpose, let's say what if we just use a pink color. So to do that, what if I say pink, and then that will be second color, I say like light blue. So I'm using the keyword color name, so that we have a little bit so moving fast, you know, so you want to change it RGB, like I show you, anytime you can change it back to RGB. Now if you save it, now we're gonna have a little bit like a gradient, like now you see that background image. If I use linear gradient, now you're gonna have this like a gradient color. I mean, so that's a better way to use the gradient color in CSS. So now like so let me bring up Figma, you know, so we've been learning the Figma. So in Figma, so if you have this color block, you want to change it to gradient, you go to this fill and then click it, and then now at the top you have this a little bit like a pixel thing, you know, like it's a gradient. So if you click it, that icon, you're gonna have a gradient color. So gradient has you have two color. Let's say like I said, we're gonna have this a little bit teal, and then the other one will be like, what if we just take it like a little bit like yellow, and now we have this gradient. So in gradient, so we can we need to know, now it's a default. CSS is giving us if you look it back, my gradient, so top and bottom, so sometimes we need to play around, you know. So if you use a Photoshop or Illustrator, we need to rotate the gradient. We need to add, let's say I want it like a more pink and then less blue, or maybe I want to rotate it like a 45 degree. So that's in Figma, it's a very easy. If you go to Figma, you can just rotate it, that thing, and then here you just bring it that so the sideway, and then now you're gonna have it like a sideway gradient. And if you want it like more blue, you can slide it the blue color here. And also if you want it like yellow to be more, so that's how we can use it in the graphic tools, in Figma. But CSS, if you want it that way, effects, we can do that. So to do that, what we need is in CSS to rotate the gradient. So it's the same thing like we have learned the HSL, you know, you just add rotation value at the top. So now we have a linear gradient and then pink and blue. So before that, you're gonna type it, let's say you want to rotate it, so rotation degree will be 0 to 360. So let's say, what if I type it like a 45 DEG? So whenever you want degree in CSS, you have to type it DEG, and now you're gonna type it like a comma, or if I save it, now you can see that the so our gradient is rotated. So it start with the pink and then 45 degree, so the blue at the top. So now the other thing, like I said, in you want it more pink. So that to get the more pink is you have to define it. So in gradients, CSS is a little bit, you have to fine tune it. You know, you have to test it out. Let's say you want it more pink, you can type it here. Like say that will be, hey, I want it like a 20% of the light blue. If I save it, bang, so now you're gonna have it this is a previous pink value will be a little bit like a percentage, and then I want it more blue. So there's you cannot, sometimes it's a little bit conflicts, because you need to use, if you want it more blue, more pink, so start with the degree that will rotate, and also at the end you're gonna add the percentage value. You cannot add it in between here, you know. So that will be, that's, keep in mind that there's a basic gradient structure. We can play around even let's say different technique, you know. Instead of saying the 45 degree, what we can do is let's say so top left, so we can say top left. It's the same thing. So if you say top, so that will be, I think we have a different way to say it. So I think I will I think we need to say top and dash left. So to do that, maybe from top left, or I think there's a way to say it, but for now I think I need to take a look back, you know. But the basic like I said, so the degree, if you want to say it like a standard code, you can say a DEG, and then that's it. If you want it a 45 degree, you can just type it that way. Now you're gonna have it. If you want it a 360 or 200 degree in your color wheel, so you want to rotate it, your gradient, you just save it that way. Now it will rotate it to the flip it, you know. So, and also you want it more blue, or if you want it like a more red, so I'm gonna say this time like 80% of my red. If I save it, then now you're gonna have it more. If you want it more, so let's say when you put it like what if 90%, if I save it now, you're gonna have it more. So even like 100%, so if I save it now, getting more, so that will be we can use it instead of using the like a percentage. It's a pixel as well, but like I said, I mean like you're writing the code for standard, you know, so that people can understand more easily. So that will be, if you want it more percentage for the like the gradient for pink color, so you're gonna have it like 200 pixel. Now you're gonna have it the whole like a gradient is taking over the pink color. So there is a basic structure for our gradient color. If you want it, I mean, so that will be how we can structure it. So I will put it like 50% so that we have a little bit basic template, you know, 50% or 25, so that, sorry, that will be a little bit less. Even we like I mean, like what if we just say like 75%, so that will be, if I save it, yeah, so we're gonna keep it that way. So that will be how we can build it. And also degree, like I said, you can rotate it from 0 to 360, so any color, so 90 degree. If I save it, now it's gonna sideways. If you want it like a left and right, top and bottom, so top and bottom will be 0 degree if I save it. And also if you want it like left and right, so that will be 90 degree if I save it. So left and, if you want it a little bit like diagonal or like a sideways, you know, so that will be 45 degree if I save it. Now you're gonna have it that way. So that is how we can build the gradient. And also in gradient, I mean, like, so as a graphic designer, you know, so go back to my Figma, you have this gradient, and then you want it like I mean, like, so that's we call it like a linear, so from left to right, top and bottom, so very linear. If you want it like we have a circle shape gradient, so that will be radial. So if you use a radial, so that will be like a circle, you know. Now before it's a linear, so that was sideways. And also if I use it like a radial, it will come from center and then it blur it. So if you, it's the same thing in CSS, I can do that way too. So that will be, instead of the typing the linear, you can just say like I will copy the same thing. So at the bottom, I'm gonna paste it. And so just simply change it linear into just type the radial. So that's it. So if you type it radial gradient, so go back to my browser, and then once I save it, so you're gonna see that. So that will be background radial. Also, and the radial, it's one thing to note. I mean, like, so in linear, we need a degree. We can edit the degree. Even without the degree, there's a value. But radian, I mean, like, so the like a circle shape gradient, we cannot add the degree. So it's a one, like I mean, like rules to take a note. I mean, that will be important. So if you want it like a circle shape or radial gradient, so remove the like a rotation degree value in your CSS, you know. So if I save it right now, so now you're gonna start seeing that way. But percentage, we can keep it. You want it more blue, more red, so it depends on you. If I add it like 20%, so you're gonna have a little bit less pink. If you want it like 150%, so now you're gonna have it that big radial, like a circle shape gradient, you know. So that's how, I mean, like, so linear gradient and radial gradient, we can build it up. If, I mean, like, so one thing to take note is a radial gradient, we cannot add the degree. Just now I add the degree, so it's gonna add the error. Let's say if I add it like a 45 DEG, so you're not going to have the thing. I mean, because it's the syntax is wrong. That's why it goes back to like I mean, like the background linear gradient. So keep in mind that in radial, you cannot add the degree. Make sure that you remove that, and then if you save it now, you're gonna have that degree. So what if we just say like a little bit, like I think like a 70. So let's take it. Yeah. So that is how we can edit the radial gradient, guys. So, and then also the other thing will be like let me pull it up my content. So that will be gradient, and also like a gradient pattern. So I mean, the CSS is a little bit fun, you know. You can play around. So if you want it repeated pattern, so to do that, so what I can do is in gradient, I can repeat it. So I will copy from the top rule. I can just paste it here. So to repeat the linear gradient, I can just type it repeating. So repeating, so dash. Now I'm gonna repeat my linear gradient. So I can keep it that way. If I save it, So you start seeing a little bit like a repeated pattern, now you see that not just one color, so it's repeating the color. But like right now it's not really good like a repeating, but if you want it like a little bit repeating color, so what I can do is you start with the now I'm gonna say like how much I want to repeat it, and also what is the gap. So let's say if I want pink to repeat it, start from the, let's say like what if we just say 10 pixel, and also I want to repeat it like pink, so that will be pink color will be another like say what if we just say like a 20 pixel, and now I'm going to repeat it. So the light blue, so I want to like I think we can bring it out, so make sure that you separate the comma here. From here I think the repeating, so the light blue, I'm going to take it to the next line, and the light blue I'm going to repeat it like that will be to test it. Okay, so like say like 20 pixel, and also the light blue I want to repeat it like what if we just say like 50 pixel. So to test it out I will put it that way, and then also if I save it, now you're gonna start seeing that a little bit like percentage. But if I remove it, so that is a teaching purpose, so how we can repeat it. Now you're gonna see that it's a gradient repeated pattern. Now like like a strip, so it's like a blue is repeating the values that we define. So if you want it more like let's say like more pink, so I think we can edit like a big size here, maybe let's say 20 pixel. If I save it, sorry, so that will be, we have to edit here. That's a like a try and error, so you can like play around. So when we just say 50 pixel is too much, and 30 pixel, yeah, now we're gonna have this strip like so it's the same thing. It's like you can test it out. So just if you like a pattern, so if you want it like a pattern, so in CSS this is how we can create it, like a user background image, and also based on the gradient like CSS rules, and then we're gonna add it like a repeating, and now you can like apply the like a gradient pattern that you can repeat it. So it's so the degree, it's a 45, let's say from top to bottom, just say 0 degree, left and right you can just say like a 90 degree. So that's how we can like, I think 45 will be a little bit more interesting. So if I save it, now you're going to get it that way. So that is how repeating. So now if you say repeating, it's the same thing for radio. So if you want to repeat it radio, so it's the same. So we're going to use the same technique, repeating, and also instead of the linear I'm going to type it radio, and then like I said we cannot add degree for radio. If I remove it, when I save it, so now you're going to have this radio repeating pattern. So that is how it's a little bit fun to play around. You can test it out. So that will be repeating gradient, and also if you want it gradient, so if you want it like a simple gradient, I can comment it this all code, and then if I save it, now you're gonna have it like a gradient. So there is a gradient. It's a little bit fun to play around, guys. So test it out, so that will be fun. And also the other thing, so to keep like moving forward, so that will be gradient and the pattern, and I think the shadow and inner shadow. So in CSS, so I think the I don't know for you, so if you like it pattern, so I think for me I will just take a simple linear gradient. So from here, because the pattern is a little bit tough to see, so I will just take it that way. If I save it, now I'm gonna keep it like I said, it's a cascading, so the last CSS rule will always apply, and like everything above will be ignored, so I will keep the gradient just like that. So now like a shadow, so in CSS if you want to add that, it's not like a text shadow, text shadow is the CSS property rules will be text dash shadow. But if you wanted the whole box like Photoshop, if you wanted shadow for your image, shadow for your like the whole layer, so what we need to do is so we're gonna say like a box shadow. So that's not the box sizing, so that will be a box shadow. So whenever you want the box shadow, like a shadow for your the whole dialog box or the whole image, or like this shadow, you have to use a box that shadow like you see on my screen. So and then now we're gonna say shadow, always we need an X value, Y value, and the blur value. value, and also we need a color. So it's the same. So I'm gonna type it like my X value will be, let's say I want it like what if we just say like a 10 pixel to see a little bit test and error. So that will be 10 pixels for Y value, and blur. So I think I don't want it too much blur, like say like a 10 pixel. Color is the same. So now any RGB whatever, but for us to test it out, what if we just say like dark blue? So that will be, if I say dark blue, when I save it, bang, now you're gonna start seeing the shadow. So it's the same like so Photoshop, you want it like move away from the our value, so from X and Y value. So you just like increase your X value, let's say from 10 to what if we just say 15. So Y value, I want it more, so that will be 15. Blur, if you want it more blur, I can add it like maybe what if we just test it out like a 20 blur. So if I save it, now you see that really big shadow is coming up. So guys, for now it's a little bit ugly, but like I said, we're gonna learn all the basic theory, concept, and CSS properties and all the rules, so that later we're gonna structure the whole like a website, so that it will be more presentable. So that will be box shadow. If you want it, the box shadow, X and Y value, you set it, and then also you set the color. That's a basic what we needed. But sometimes we need like a really big shadow. So it's not blur. So if I edit like a blur value to be, let's say, a 200 pixel. So it's already like a blurred it out. Like sometimes you want it that way, or you can use it. But sometimes, we need it like I want to keep it like a 20 pixel, but I want it like a very big shadow. So to do that, you are adding the shadow size. So that will be the last value will be shadow size. If I add it like a 50 pixel after that, now if I save it now, that's a shadow size. Sometimes, you need to know, So if you edit, you want it like a really big shadow, that's how we're gonna edit. So now you can play around. So like I said, in color, we can play around RGB. If you want it like a little bit like a transparent in your shadow, you can bring it down, your transparent. Now if you save it, it will a little bit blur. So that's now the color block. So it's all same applying to the top what we have learned, So that will be, you can play with the transparency, RGB, HSL, it's the same thing. So we're gonna play around that way. So if you keep it like a keyword value, you can save it that way. So if you want a big shadow, like I said, you can edit, but for us, I think we do not need it. So I will remove that big shadow. I will save it that way. So that's how we're gonna edit the shadow. So like I said just now, so the in AWS, we have mouse hover it, you have this like glowing the shadow. So to do that, so what we can do is we need the shadow to be center, and then we can blur it out from the center. So it's very simple. So this time what we're gonna do is you just paste it. So we just remove the X and Y value. So I don't want it X to move around, put it 0. I don't want it Y, so top and bottom 0. I want it blur, a little bit more blur, so that will be 30 pixel. If I save it, now the shadow is from a center, and it's if you want it like a blur to be a little bit more like so 20 pixel. If I save it now, you get it. So like I said, if you want it more shadow value, so this time I can edit, so that will be 20 pixel for my shadow size. So if I save it now, I have a more shadow. So but like I said, if you want it like a 10 pixel, so that will be more shadow. There's how we can build like a center shadow, So just now I show you like a AWS. So if you mouse hover it, it's not like a sideways, from the so like a X value, Y value, we're not setting. So this is what they are taking the center, and then you're punching the light from the center. So that's how the shadow effects that AWS is creating. So it's a little bit fun. So you can play around. You can use your X, Y value, or you can put it like an X Y value 0. So that's how we can create it, guys. So I think I will keep it like as we're learning the shadow. So I will keep it the same bottom one. So if I save it, so that will be a little bit shadow that we can create it. Okay, guys. So and then the other thing will be I think inner shadow. So inner shadow is in CSS. Whatever shadow you have created, you can simply add the last value. So that will be inset. In Photoshop, we just invert it like inner glow or outer glow, So it's the same thing in CSS. You just type it inset, inset. So now once you save it, all the shadow will go to invert. So that will be like an inner shadow, inner glow if you want it that way. So it's the same thing like if you remove it, like all the zero value from it, so you're gonna have it like a center shadow. So if I save it, now you can have it like a little bit glow effect. So that is how we can create it like the shadow inward, shadow outward. So if you want it like a inward shadow, just type inset. So and also if you want it like glow effect, you can remove it X and Y value to 0, and then you can set it that way. More shadow do you want it? You want to increase shadow size, like I said, shadow size will be the 4 value. So that will be, if I save it now, you get it more like a glow effect. You know, that is how we can play around, guys. So but make sure that you use an inset for inward, and you remove the inset, so that will be like drop shadow, you know. So that's how we can play around. I think I will use the shadow again, so that's up to you guys. So I will keep it that way. I will paste it at the bottom, so I like that shadow. Okay, that will be like a drop shadow. And then what else we need to know? So that will be blending mode. So, and also the last thing will be blending mode. So if you come from graphic design, you know, so we play around with the overlay, multiply. So all this blending mode, we can play in CSS too, guys. So if you want it blending mode, so we need like what if instead of the gradient background, I'm gonna add one picture in my background image, you know. So to do that in CSS, you just type it background image. It's the same as a gradient, but this time you want a really like a JPEG PNG picture. So what we can do is a URL. So that is how we gonna like so point our image in your CSS rule. So type it URL, like parentheses, you know, you press tab key, we're gonna have this like opening and closing parentheses. So now we're gonna look for our, it's the same as a tag link in your like HTML. So it's the same thing. So now you can like locate your file. Where is your image? So for me, like I remember I put it like inside the image folder here. So that will be image, and also I have this top banner.jpg because I save it in my folder. So if you go back, like I have this image and then this picture. So once I locate my file inside the URL, if I save it, bang, now you're gonna see that this is my image is repeating, like filling up the whole like a dialog box, you know. If you have a really like a nice big size enough to the fit in the dialog box, it will not repeat it. But because of my images, if you look it back, images like it's a small, so that's why it is like a filling up the whole dialog box. That's why you're seeing like a repeated pattern. So that is not like any effects applying or any additional rules, no. So it's just that automatically the CSS or the browser is filling up your space. But if you don't want it, so we're gonna have one big topic for background so that we can play around. But for now, if you do not want to repeat it, you just say like background repeat. So that will be background repeat. You just say no repeat. If you say it that way, now my background is not repeating. It will just put it like that way, and also it will take over to our like normal green background, you know. So that is how CSS repeating and not repeat. If you want it, so you can put it that way, background no repeat, background repeat to be no repeat. But for us, like we are learning the blending mode, I want to show you repeating. So now like I want to blend it my background image like using the overlay or multiply. So to do that in CSS, blending mode will be, you just type it like so background blending mode. So that will be let me pull it up. So I think I have this CSS rule. So that will be background blending mode. Yes, you're right. So that will be a background. So that will be a background dash. So it's not a background. So we have to type it background dash and then blending mode. So it's the same in Photoshop. So blending mode, now you can there's a list, you know, you can choose it anyone. So it's mostly we use the overlay. If I type it overlay, so blending mode overlay, I am blending my image with the background. If I save it, now you're gonna see it like a blending to the background. As for now it's a little bit ugly, but the images are like getting to the a background, the green color, you know, overlay. It's not really good. So what if we just type it like to test it out, like multiply. So what if I use a multiply? Now a little bit like overlays are just taking over all the picture. So now a little bit green. So but for us, like like it is affecting to the background color. So what if I just use the, so the gradient. So if I want it like a multiply, so that will be dual tone thing. So instead of the multiply, what if I say like a screen? So if I use it like a so screen, so if I save it, yeah, there's a little bit another effects that. So that's depends on you. You can play around, just that you need to know what is a blending mode. Like in like a CSS, if you wanted the blending mode, you can edit like a black background blending mode. And also I can edit one more. What if we just say like a background and then image? So from here, I think I can test it out. So to do that, let me try it out. So the background will be this linear gradient. I will copy it. If I paste it here, so if I save it, yeah, that's a taking over. I think the background will not blend into your gradients, because you can see that it's always go to the solid background. So if I save it, so yeah, so the like what if we just say multiply? So let me test it out. Multiply. Yeah, it will not take it like a gradient, So the things that we need to take note is you want to use blending mode. And also, like this like a basic CSS tutorial, So we have like a mixed blending mode or other CSS properties that we can use. You can search it on the Mozilla, Google. So, but for us, it's like a basic, like what is a blending mode if you want it. So you can just save it like it will always go back to the solid background here. So if I change it like what if we just move this background color and then copy it, and then if I after the color, if I paste it here, so instead of the green, what if we just use a little bit light, I think maybe what if like a little bit light blue teal. So that will be if I save it. So now, yeah, so it will always look for your hash value or the background solid color. So and then it will blend it to the color. So there's one thing to know: if you want to blend it, so that will use your background color. It's not in the gradient. So I think we can learn it, we can manipulate it, but for now, so keep in mind that there's like a basic teachings guide. So that will be, if you want to blend it, you can use a background blending mode, and then from screen, and then you can, it's the same as a Photoshop, you can use multiply, and also you can use it, I think overlay will be really burning out. So overlay, and it's the same from the list. You can edit like what if we just say like overlay and highlight. So it's the same as a Photoshop. So now we're gonna have it that way. So that is how we can use a blending mode. I think I will like keep it like the gradient will be my final. So if I save it, so we're gonna have a little nice gradient. So that's how we can manipulate like a color in our CSS guide. So you play around, so test it out. So I believe you have a little bit takeaway from it. So back to my content. So that will be like I think complete with the text fill, stroke, gradient. We have learned shadow and blending modes, and also the Figma. So like I show you, so in Figma, so if you want it like a tested out your color, so linear. If you want to pick the color, you just like use this linear gradient fill, and then you click on the color block. You can simply like rotate your hash value like a RGB, and also you can go to even you have a CSS value, So that's how easily we can pick. And also the really in the professional way, so people are building the website in like so Figma, So that's also, maybe we're gonna have a future tutorials, guys. Okay, so that will be, I think, complete with the color like a lesson, but the end, what if we add like a color variables? So I think I want to show you the thing as well, so it will be better to complete with the color variable. So variable is something that like if I remove my dialog box, so I save it that way. So I want to show you how to set the color variable in your CSS. Let's say I bring it up like so my form value here. So I'm gonna add one form like color. So that will be, like I said, so in form we have a different values, So but I can simply say that in my form and all the input. So if I say it that way, let's say in my form input, And then I mean like, so if I type it like now we know the background color. If I type it like a background color to be what if yeah, this color. So if I save it, now you're gonna see a little bit like I mean like, so the form is changed to our background to this little bit red color. So what if make it like a little bit like yellow so that we can see. So that color, if I save it, now we have this color that we define. But if you go to my like gender, it's still in the purple. So now I need to change this purple. So that will be, I mean like, so the accent color, I will cut it from here. So cut it out. And then because in CSS, I mean like, we cannot mix it in one CSS property because accent color for gender and all the like my interest, you know, that's a different. I mean like, so we need to like use a different selector and combinator. So that's why we cannot put it in here. So background color for all input, I put it this color RGB. I think maybe for better, I think I will use a hash value so that we have a little bit clear. So if I save it, so now purple, I don't want it, I want it like the same thing, because let's say I have a branding color for this little bit light green. If I paste it, so now my like text input box all the a little bit green, and also I have this green color, and also Photoshop and everything. So these are the like a color that I'm using. Let's say even if you bring it down, let's say what if we want it like even the back to top button to be this green. So I want to show you the color variable and then how we can easily like move and change and like those like I mean like so branding color, you know. So to do that, the background, sorry, the back to top like a button background color, I can just say dot back to top, and then I can just type it like a background color. So that will be same color here. I can copy it. So that will be when you copy here. So now we can apply it to the back to top too. So now you see that I have this branding guide and branding color. That's like a little bit like I mean like light green, you know. So but I mean like, so in the real world, I mean like people change, the art director change. So like they say you, let's say, I mean like for now it's only 3 lines, you know. If they want to change it, you can change it here. But what if we have let's say, I mean like when I repeat it now, you're gonna have a multiple CSS rule that you have to change it. I mean like, for instance, so you have you will never have a 1, 2, 3 line, you know. So you're gonna have it like even in HTML, there will be a lot of lines that you need to write codes, and then so that will be tedious, and also that will be taking more times. But in CSS, we can define it just simply writing a 1 line, and then we can quickly change our color theme. So to do that, you go back to the top. It will always start at the top. So what I can do is to define a color variable in CSS, you start with the column. So that will be like a class pseudo selector. So that will be root. When you say the column root, now we can define a variable. So let's say now I want it like my brand color. So to define a color, start with the dash, and that will be any name. Now it's like brand color, primary color, secondary color. Even you see back to my like a Figma, you know, in the real world, they're gonna have like even we have a primary color for green, and then secondary for a little bit dark, and then all these are like in like a branding color. You're gonna have it that way. So it's the same thing. You want to play around with the color, just writing a 1 color code. So that will be dash in your root column. So that will be brand color. What if I say brand dash color? So this is not like necessary, you know, any color. You can say brand color, you can say like a primary color. So any name, but for us, like I will use a brand color. So but make sure that dash is important, and the rest is you can just simply type it like a brand color. But for us, I mean like, so to make it a little bit different, so that will be color. Make sure to add dash add from, and that's it. Now we got this. We are creating the one CSS property for our custom use. So when I add column, so it becomes a CSS property. Now I'm gonna add one property value for our like a custom property rule. So that will be, now I'm gonna say like this color, you know. So I can simply come back to my color, I can copy it. So I'm gonna paste it in my color like my custom. So if I paste it now, you're gonna have it this color block. So when I save it now, the one property properties, root is created, so that will be our variable. We can use it anywhere, I mean, without writing a repeated code. So how we can use the inform input instead of using the has value here. So how I can define this, I can just type var. So if you type it var, now my my custom variable is pop. So I can just simply tap key, or I mean you can select it. Now dash that brand color is selected. If I edit like a semicolon, so if I save it now, it's the same. I mean, so nothing changed here. So, but I want to show you if I use a variable, how easy to change it back. So variable, and then if you press tab key, now I am defining all my color as a variable. If I put it instead of this color block, so I can just use a var and then parenthesis. If I tap it, and then you can tap it that way. Now you can see, I mean, in my browser, color is remain the same. It's the same like green, but in my coding, I mean, you can see that instead of using the block, so RGB, I'm not using any RGB or has value, but I am creating my own custom color properties at the top using the root, and also at the bottom I can use it repeated way. So but this time, like I said, I mean, you have an art director, they want to change it from light green to, let's say, what if we want to change it to the a little bit like a pink color. So you don't have to come back here and then change it manually one by one. Just go to the top. So the variable, good thing is that now you can just simply change the color anytime. I mean, from has value, now you know that, I mean, if you want to change it, let's say you can slide it around, let's say pink color, you just change it one line. Once you save it, bang, now all the variable applying to your whole page is changing, it's applying. So that's how so it's a very quick, very efficient. It's the best way to use a color variable so that you don't have to write repeated code. So it will be defining in root class pseudo color. I mean, sorry, the a root pseudo selector. You define it your custom color property, and then now you can just simply change it very quick, very fast. So that will be how we can define a variable color. So now when it what if we just want to change it a little bit teal, even you want it transparent, just play around. We want to change it to RGB, you just click it away. So if you save it, bang, now it will apply all your variable, and you don't have to look for it. I mean, just simply, easily, you can define it that way. So that is how very easy to use your variable in your CSS. I mean, so if you save it, you can manipulate your color theme. I mean, from orange, whatever color. So let's say if you want it a little bit orange and then teal, so that will be, you save it, now your color is changed. I mean, so that's how very quick to define your own variable, and then you can apply it very quickly. So that's how we can apply it, guys. So I want to show you the how to set the variable too. So I think I will change it back to my, let's say it's a little bit orange color here. So if I save it, so now you're gonna have it that way. So that is how we can define it very easily and very quick, very fast. So that is how CSS color variable we can define it. So if you save it, so that's it. I mean, so back to my content. I think that's it, guys. I mean, we have learned a lot. So, and also I separated 2 tutorials, so that will be part 3, A and B. So make sure to check it out. So I think we have something to take away from this tutorial. I hope you like the tutorial. If you do so, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on notification, and I hope to see you in next tutorial.